Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a new channel, so please subscribe if you haven't already. I just want to give you a brief introduction of what this channel is going to be about. The name of the channel is Spicer Designs, which is a small company that I have doing CNC plasma cutting. So I basically make stuff like this out of steel. Stuff like this. This is not my design, but this is the kind of things that I can cut. Anyways, I might make some videos on the plasma machine. If that's not something that you're into, then just don't watch them. I'll also be making a lot of videos with the tractor, different implements, different upgrades I'm going to do to the tractor. So today's video is going to be on installing the third function kit on the tractor. The kit cost me $1,000 from the Kioti dealer. The install cost was another $500, which probably wouldn't be that bad to just have them do it for 500 bucks. But then you have to go through the process of getting your tractor there, and they're gonna have it for who knows how long, and then getting it back. So this way you kind of just take a day to do it and it's done. It took me about 6 hours to do while filming it. On a difficulty scale, I would say it was probably a 5 out of 10. It wasn't super difficult, wasn't super easy. Basically, you're just gonna need the means to be able to jack this back end of the tractor up and remove the right rear tire. It's heavy, but it's doable with one person. I will say, when you put it on the jack stands, make sure that your loader position won't affect the stability of the tractor, because when you remove your stock loader joystick, you're going to be moving it around and the hydraulics may relax, which could cause the tractor to shift. So we don't want anything like that happening where the tractor could shift off that jack stand and cause an accident. So just be really careful on the setup of getting that tractor supported. The instruction manual for the third function kit is pretty bad. It doesn't really do a very good job of describing all the steps. There are options between the cab system, which I have, and the ROPS system. There are two different installs. I mean, a lot of them are pretty similar, but there are steps that you do a totally different thing. There's also some other parts that are used in the ROPS setup versus the cabin setup. So this video is going to be on the cab setup. You could still use it as a reference if you wanted to do it with the ROPS setup. Anyway, let's first take a look at what we've got in the box. So we got our hydraulic lines, our new loader control with the two auxiliary buttons, more hydraulic lines, more hydraulic lines, more hydraulic lines. Looks like we've got the electrical harness. Bracket. We have our valve control here. I'm guessing there's some kind of electronic solenoid inside here to control that third function. Pretty beefy. And this is the box that's going to hold the valve function. I don't know what the hell that is. Some hardware. And some other hard lines. Some brackets. And we got all of our connectors. Hydraulic connectors. More. That's pretty much it. Let's dig into this manual. Looks like the first step is to remove the right rear tire. So I already got it jacked up on a jack stand. Okay, let's get this tire yanked off. Right now, I've got it on a jack stand, and I've got it about an inch off the ground or so. I'm assuming this thing's gonna be pretty heavy. Like I said, 15-16 socket will fit it. Also, 24mm will fit it, but I'm gonna use the 15-16 because, well, American. Not too bad. Still got both right now. Okay, next step. Remove this access cover right here. It is a 12mm socket, and there are 6 bolts and 1 stud here. Okay, here's what it looks like after I've removed the cover. Okay, next step. We're going to remove this existing hydraulic pipe A right here. I'll show you where that's at. Here's our opening over in this bottom right corner. Back here, you can see there's 2 stacked. That's B, this is A. It's hard to see, but it wraps around down below. And then, man, it's really hard to see. And down below there, there's a bolt on top. You can kind of see it back in there. So we have to remove that now. Okay, so this bolt on this one, I have a 3/4 inch wrench. I know it's a metric wrench, or it's supposed to be, but my metric wrenches only go up to 18mm, so this 3/4 fits it fine. And then this, damn it, this other bolt that's deep inside, I got about a 12-inch extension on it, and it is a 12mm socket. And I'm not sure if any hydraulic fluid is gonna come out of here, so I got a pan. We got a pan below, just in case. All right, there's an O-ring on this end and that end. Oh God. So just make sure that you do not lose them. Next, we have to remove hydraulic pipe B, which is just above the one we just took off. And then it wraps around the back and comes out right here. Okay, once again, I'm gonna use my 3/4 inch wrench, which I know is not probably the right wrench I'm supposed to be using, but it does work. All right, so we've got our connection pipe 1, which is here. And then we've got a hose that connects to it, hose P, which we've got right here. And then there's a hose R. And there's another hose R. I don't know what the... Anyways, this one's got a 90-degree fitting on it. This one's got a 45-degree fitting on it. You can see right here, this one's got a 45-degree. This one's got a 90-degree. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these just connected before I put it in there. All right, so hose P and connection pipe 1 I have here. You can see hose P has got that 45-degree angle on it. It's labeled P. This is going to go on the adapter fitting here into the valve body, the upper one, which used to be the hydraulic pipe B. I know it's kind of confusing. So I grabbed the existing bolt out of hydraulic pipe B, which is right here, and I'm going to use that to bolt this back together. But first I got to put those O-rings back in. All right, I'm going to kind of stick the bolt in there, because it's kind of a tight fit. I don't know if the bolt will even go in once this is in place, so. And then there's another, fuck. Another bolt here we actually have to remove that mounts right to this part of the bracket, so I'm gonna have to pull that out right now. Which is also a 12 millimeter. That one you can just loosen up. You don't have to pull it all the way out because it's got a slot for it. All right, I just slightly tightened that just so that I can mount this mounting bolt and it still has room to move. I wanted to make sure that these seats were tightened before that mounting bolt, just so nothing gets put in a bind. Okay, so we got our new pipe in. Comes down. We'll get our hose. Just kind of have it laying on the floor right now. I left the cap on the end of it. There's plenty of access for this to tighten it up, so we don't necessarily need to put it on beforehand. So now we're going to move on to the new pipe that connects into here. Okay, first we're supposed to remove this old adapter here. The new adapter looks, it's the same thread, and each side look identical. They both have like a ferrule on them. The old one doesn't though. See, this is just kind of confusing, and I'm assuming that I have to put the O-ring on the new one, but it doesn't really say in the instructions. So put the old O-ring on the new adapter. All right, I got a 7/8 wrench, which again, it's probably a metric wrench, but the 7/8 fits it fine. And now we're gonna attach our R hose to that adapter. Okay, we got that in. You can kind of see how it just kind of sits on that the axle mount there. And just have them both laying down there on the ground for now. So the next step is going to be to reinstall this A pipe, which went to this bottom adapter all the way into the back here. I think they just have you remove that just so it's not in your way when you're removing these other pipes. So I'll go ahead and put that back in now. So right now, everything that we pulled out is back in. We removed that B pipe, and in place of it, we've installed these two other pipes and hoses that I'm guessing are gonna go to our new control valve assembly. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, next step is putting the diverter valve assembly into this housing. Here's our housing that's gonna mount to the tractor. They give you this rubber spacer that goes in the back. And also, that's where it mounts to on the diverter valve. The hardware is in a bag which is labeled, and none of these numbers seem to match the numbers that say in the instructions, which is odd. But they're just studs with an Allen set on them, and then some locks and some nuts. I'm gonna throw a little dab of anti-seize on these. This is gonna be a 3mm Allen. And I'm just gonna tighten them down, snug them good. So now we're gonna mount the diverter valve bracket and box housing, whatever you wanna call it, We're going to mount it to the existing bracket on the tractor. It's right below the cab. We had to cut a tie wrap here. The loader hydraulic lines were tie wrapped to one of the mounting holes. So just clip that tie wrap. And then you can see the holes are kind of large on this. So they give you a couple of these spacers here, and those are going to go in right on the top of the fixed bracket that's already on the tractor. And then they give you some other hardware to mount it. Okay. So we got a couple of larger like fender washers. I'm going to put them on the bottom along with my lock and the nuts on the bottom. Okay, we got the diverter valve assembly mounted underneath the tractor there. There's a little bit of play in that whole box, so I kind of just looked down the tractor side there to make sure that it was square and parallel with the tractor itself, just so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so once again, these instructions are awful. Earlier on the new connection pipe 1, I think it was called, which went into the old B port here on top, I had this 45 coming out of that new pipe adapter. Well, it looks like the 45 actually goes on this end, which when you look at all the pictures in the manual, that's not what it shows, but it just won't fit in there right with the straight end. It just puts it in a bind. So anyways, the 45 is going to go on this end, on the very bottom, and that's going to go to that new pipe that we added here. So I'm just going to hand tighten them for now until we get them all in. I just want to make sure that everything fits the way it's supposed to. So now we're going to take the longer hose, which is R, goes into the far port back here. That's going to go on this very top one here. Right there. Okay, so just to be clear, on our further hose here, it's going to come down. This is hose R, and it's going to go into this top connector. So that was that one. And then over here, we've got our new pipe that we added. It comes down, and it's going to be the straight part of the fitting. That's hose P. It's going to come down, and we're going to use the 45 section over here, and that's going to connect onto this bottom. Now we're going to stub these other hoses out toward the front. Okay, now we're going to install the hydraulic hoses A and B. We're going to use the 45 degree and the 90 degree ends inside of the diverter valve housing. So hose A, which is also referred to as PN14, is going to go on this top fitting here. Now hose B, which is also referred to as PN15, is going to go onto this last opening here. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and snug these things down and move on. Okay, so we got our hoses connected to our diverter valve. Next step is to move into the cab over to the loader control.